Welcome to Spokane, Washington, to the campus of Gonzaga University, and to Luger Field for tonight's women's soccer matchup and home finale for the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who will face off against the Loyola Marymount University Lions. I am Kevin McGann, joined by Rue Stenson for tonight's commentary.
It's a pleasure to be with you today, Kevin. It's important to recognize the position Gonzaga are in based off their huge win versus Santa Clara on Sunday. It was their second ever in program history, with their first being in 2007. This win put Gonzaga on the right side of the NCAA bubble and kept them atop the WCC with 2 games to play. Coach Watkins said prior to the game that playing Santa Clara in soccer is like Santa Clara playing Gonzaga in basketball. They finally were able to take down the Goliath and beat the national champs from 3 years ago.
Yes, and let's take a look at where that puts Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference standings. They're tied at the top of the table with Pepperdine at the moment, with Portland and Santa Clara following closely behind them. They have a chance with a win tonight to set themselves up for a winner-take-all matchup in Malibu against Pepperdine this weekend, and that would set themselves up for an opportunity to win their first ever West Coast Conference title. There's still a way that there could be a 3-way tie or something of the sort, but Gonzaga could eliminate the chances of that with a win against Loyola Marymount tonight.
And you're right, Kevin. For tonight, Gonzaga needs to take care of business. They've shut out LMU each of the last 4 seasons and are looking for a similar result tonight.
Yes, stick with us because the home finale kickoff for the Gonzaga Bulldogs will come up next. You are watching Gonzaga Soccer here on ESPN+. Welcome back to Luger Field when the sun has set in Spokane, Washington, to make for a big night for both of these teams, but especially Gonzaga, who can really set apart this already record-breaking season so far, Rue.
Yeah, it'll be a big game for them. They have to take care of business tonight. You saw the number 19 rankings, and they are projected the number 8 rankings for the tournament, Kevin.
Yes, and there we have Gonzaga's goalkeeper, Lauren Town, was listed in the College Soccer News National Women's Team of the Week for her performance over the weekend against Santa Clara University, keeping a shutout against that ranked opponent.
On the other side of the equation, we have Ellie Summers, who's a freshman for the LMU Lions. She has 15 saves this season, played in 5 games, and has a allowed goals average of 2 per game. So certainly will be a moment for this Gonzaga attack to pounce upon that and be able to extend their lead more than possible.
Yes, an attack is what this Gonzaga team does best. They're one of the best attacking teams in the country, and they'll look to continue that form through tonight. They're averaging 3.13 goals per game, while the Lions are averaging just below 1 goal per game. So the Zags, the favorites here at Luger Field tonight, especially in their home stadium, where it is probably much colder than their opponents are used to, as it seems Loyola Marymount will line themselves up with a 5-4-1 formation and from the start look to orient themselves in a low block against a strong Gonzaga opponent.
Certainly, and Gonzaga will kick it right out of bounds, trying to keep their pressure on LMU that they will commence right now.
Yes, the Lions in black tonight and the Zags in white, while the referees are in purple.
And certainly, Kevin, we talk about the disparity between both teams and their record so far. But for Gonzaga, you know, we see this LMU team that's running a low block, and they're going to have to find their way in and out to be able to create chances.
As the Zags play a long ball and look to find Gianna Riley, unable to do so through that attempt. But we'll be able to retain possession. Chelsea Lee wins it for the Zags, and they'll look to find spaces for their wide defenders to play through balls into the forwards, and they'll look to find Gianna Riley, Maddie Kemp, Marissa Garcia, and Paige Alexander in those positions. Gianna Riley played over the top and will catch the ball before it gets to the end line. She looks to play it in the middle, and that will be caught by the likes of Ellie Sommers for the Lions.
Yep, you were right, Kevin, about those chances. Going from the defenders to the attackers in a situational low block like that is what's going to be needed in order to get past that defense of the Lions. Brought down by Warta. Looking to find her way around. But the Lions take control.
And the Zags will retain possession and look to build out of the back. The Zags will look to try and exploit the space in between the midfield and defensive lines of their opponent as Kelsey Euler dribbles into that space currently, but will be called back for a foul as she stumbled.
Seems like she was trying to get the ball there, Kevin, but obviously a little bit dangerous there. You know, could be aiming for one of the ankles of the LMU lines. I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but something that the referee has to watch out for.
The ball is played on the ground, and the Zags looking to win possession and able to do so through Maddie Kemp. She looks to play the ball forward, but that will be stopped.
Attempted ball for Janessa Rose. And LMU retains possession here. We'll look to play around the back, but expect pressure from Gonzaga.
Yes, the Zags looking like they won't change their style of play, and that's something we've heard their coach Watkins say earlier in the season, that no matter who they're playing against, they'll look to play their way as they continue to operate in a 4-3-3 with all three center midfield positions occupied through the central three. And the Zags will look to do exactly what they're doing now in order to create spaces against their opponent. You'll see the speed at which they play the ball across their back lines to create spaces just like that and allow their forwards to get possession in attacking areas.
Certainly, and it'll definitely be a struggle for the Lions in order to contain the wingers and the likes of Marissa Garcia and Gianna Riley. So aggressive, they always take on the defenders with some sort of move and with a high success, and it's warranted for that reason.
Yes, and it looks like the Loyola Marymount Lions will look to play a counter-attacking style of play. So we'll see what they do on this goal kick and see if they try and move it quickly to their forwards and try and catch the Gonzaga defenders in higher positions. Kelsey Euler picks up possession and is dribbling down the side of the field. She'll be able to get across into the box and able to drop the ball at the feet of her teammate. Gianna Riley able to get a shot off, but that will be saved. Chelsea Lee comes out to claim the ball that is cleared from the Lions, and Grace Corder will drive the ball forward for her team. Able to win possession back, and the Zags will look to reorient themselves and attack again.
Certainly quite a long shot there, but I think Grace knew she had the capabilities in order to score from out there.
Chelsea Lee dribbles her opponent and able to find her teammate, Maddie Kemp, who's able to find another teammate despite being surrounded and trapped by her opponent. Kelsey Euler will dribble it through the half space and look to find spaces all the way through the box, but will be stopped by the Loyola Marymount captain, number 7, Kaylee Park. And Kaylee Park there will poke the ball forward for the Lions as they look to attack, and that will be Lauren Chin for the Zags, who's cut that attack short, and the Lions have reclaimed possession and will look to attack in the same way. Lions able to retain possession on the near side, and will look to put something into the box with not a lot of teammates to help them, but the referee will call an offside first.
Certainly a creation there for LMU, and they're able to create chances there, but I think Gonzaga was able to defend it well, and it was great defending by Lauren Chin on the near side of the pitch.
Yes, certainly Loyola Marymount has attacking threat and has scored throughout the season to show that. They've have an average of 10.3 shots per game, and it seems like they'll look to get those shots through the counterattack and have a slightly sharper edge than what they had just there. Zags moving the ball forward. Have a throw in on the near side. And the ball played long over the top by Kelsey Euler will find a teammate who can flick it on, but unable to break through the line of the Lions' defense.
Lions defense looking to take out one of the substitutions for Gonzaga. Laurenchin on the ball. We'll look to swing it back to Michaela Werner, who will play her center back pairing in Grace Quarter. And we know these two center backs are fearless when it comes to attacking. They always love to create a chance. And even in my days, Kevin, I played as center back, and I love to run up the field and get a chance.
Yes, and these center backs for Gonzaga are well drilled and very aware of the spaces that open up when they move forward. They've rarely made mistakes coming forward so far this season and are surely some of the best attacking center backs that you'll see at this level. Amelia Warta able to turn on her opponent, and Chelsea Lee will retain possession of the ball and look to find a pass forward. Maddie Kemp will find the ball, and really in those central spaces she'll be crucial to this Gonzaga team in creating opportunities and finding through balls to her teammates when she drops into a deeper position.
And I think you will see a lot more creation and movement from this Gonzaga side, who you see obviously LMU running the low block, and Gonzaga will have to move around with their defenders and midfielders in order to find the nooks and crannies that aren't able to be found in otherwise positions.
Yes, it'll be really a lot more of a tactical game that we'll see so far. It looks like Loyola Marymount would prefer to play that way, as the Zags will look to stretch them and catch them out of position in order to get themselves a shot on target and an opportunity to score.
Megan Rucker on the throw here, looking to play short for Janessa Groves. It's taken over by Gonzaga.
And Chelsea Lee able to claim the ball for the Zags and will pass it back to her teammates. Another thing we'll see throughout the game tonight is likely Gonzaga has already shown and will continue to show their ability to possess the ball. And Gonzaga able to win a corner kick through the pressure of Marissa Garcia.
Obviously, if you're Alice Santen, who was the one who did hit out for the Lions, you don't want to create stupid mistakes for your team where Gonzaga would be able to capitalize, and then you're down 1-0 in a situation where you didn't want to find yourself.
Yeah, she plays it safe on that occasion and allows her team to get behind the ball and defend the corner kick. Chelsea Lee will pick up the ball at the top of the box and look to find Maddie Kemp in a wide position. Kelsey Euler able to beat the first defender and looks to put the ball into the middle of the box. And able to find Gianna Riley in the other side of the field, but the ball will roll out.
See that, Kevin, a little bit of a skill move after.
She's just showing her opponent what might happen if the ball hadn't gone out of play. The goal kick taken. And the Zags will win possession back again, as they'll look to break down this low block that their opponents employed.
Werner looking to find Marissa Garcia there. Lions get possession, and Alex Hobbs plays it right to Michaela Werner.
And I think the first thing that we'll see for the Zags in the coming minutes is that they'll try and get the ball to some of their forward players at their feet. They've played long balls like that and are yet to find the level of success that they'd likely desire from the amount of possession that they have so far up to this point.
Alex Hobbs on the ball, plays to her midfielder. Back for Janessa Groves. And it looks like Kaylee Park will see herself in that midfielder position, locating the ball and possessing it around the field.
And notable from the Zags is that they won't employ their typical high-pressure sort of tactic. They will drop back a little bit deeper and try and draw their opponent out. You see the Loyola Marymount team has found themselves in their entirety much more forward. And the Zags will look to keep their opponent away from their own goal in order to try and create space and find an opportunity for one of their forwards to run in behind.
Played short by Town. Right for Grace Corder. And you really see the only attackers for this LMU team are Alex Hobbs and Janessa Groves. So not too much pressure coming from this side. It just looks like they're keeping that 5 in the back and will maintain a 5-4-1.
And the ball played over the top will look for Paige Alexander. She's unable to claim it, but will win her team a throw-in. And able to have possession and an opportunity to create a shot on goal here for the Zags. But the Lions will clear their lines and look to attack.
It's played over the top by Alice Senten. And it'll be gone right for Chelsea Lee, who is being pressured by Olivia Winter.
And the Zags will claim the ball. And Kelsey Euler looks to play Gianna Riley over the back line of their opponents, unable to connect completely. But they'll look to put the Lions under pressure immediately. Maddie Kemp wins the ball back for the Zags and will find Euler. Euler, who has the single season assist record for the Zags and has had that record for what seems like a large portion of the season.
Yeah, it really is crazy how quickly she's gotten to that position. And she does so well servicing balls for her wingers. It's just a great how she plays. And yeah, you're right, Kevin. She has had that single season record for over a month now. Somewhere around there.
Grace Corder steps off her line to win the ball for the Zags and is able to find a teammate. Maddie Kemp will look to play Gianna Riley, and they'll look to combine and create something. And a miscommunication between Riley and Alexander will allow the Lions to try and clear their lines, but it will be a Loyola throw-in.
And Paige Alexander will certainly have the lion's share of aggressing the center backs and pressuring them constantly. So you could expect a lot of substitutions being made at that position tonight.
Yes, the number 9 position is the one that the Zags really expect to have the highest work rate. And so they'll switch out between their wingers and their central striker throughout the game, and they'll make substitutions as they have quite a bit of depth through their roster that allows them to make changes throughout the game.
Riley pressures Rucker. Gonzaga ball. Laurenchin looks to play quick.
And she'll wait for a teammate to make a run. Able to find Paige Alexander. And able to reclaim the ball and look to flick it in between the opposition defenders, but unable to do so. And Loyola Marymount will look to advance, but again miscommunicate and play the ball into the hands of Gonzaga. Euler looking to dribble her opponent, and something we'll see, I think, more as the score remains the same, as many of the Gonzaga players that find themselves with attacking returns throughout the season have also shown that they can produce attacking returns on their own. And the Zags will look to beat their opponent again. Definitely a practice of patience for this Gonzaga team as they look to find a way through this Loyola defense.
And it's certainly something they've displayed before with their patience and look to display it again today. Good block by Grace to intercept the ball. But yeah, it's certainly one of these games where patience is key for the higher ranked teams, and as the season progresses, as we get towards the further end of the season, which we are right now, you see teams with a lot more disparity among not only the record but just how they play. So certain play styles go to show, and it's something you have to practice for from whatever side you stand on in terms of record.
And Loyola Marymount somewhat wise to not try and attack consistently and constantly against this Gonzaga team. As Gianna Riley breaks through and is able to get a shot, but that one will go over the goal after bouncing off her opponent and back to her. That'll be a goal kick, but a promise and perhaps a warning shot from the Zags of what they're capable of doing.
Certainly, she displays so much strength. Here's the replay once again. Right off the defenders of Gabriela Marshall and Santon, where she's able to display her strength and almost get a chance for Gonzaga.
Lauren Chin clears the ball for the Zags, and they'll put their opponents under pressure immediately. And the Lions look to clear the ball, but won't clear it past the Gonzaga's Michaela Werner. As Euler looks to play it long immediately, Kemp tries to flick it on to Alexander, but unable to find the connection with the ball. And the Lions will look to build the ball out of the back, again unable to do so through the pressure of Riley this time.
Yeah, it really is just the pressure of Riley versus Rucker for LMU. She'll be faced with a hard task today in defending Riley, but she does have plenty of teammates from her center back pairing and the five in the back that will be able to help her.
And the Zags will again pick up possession and look to break through their opponent's lines. Or they're able to find Alexander, but the Lions will win possession back. And Chelsea Lee will put the opponent under pressure, but the Lions have been able to retain possession despite this pressure. There's some philosophies of the game that break down soccer into 4 moments. And it's when you're attacking, when you're defending, the transition to attack, and the transition to defend. And it looks like this Gonzaga team, when they're transitioning to defense, will look to win the ball as soon as possible. As the Lions are able to find themselves on the score sheet, their number 9, Janessa Groves, has scored and finds themselves where they likely wouldn't expect themselves to be. 20 minutes into this one, the Lions are at an advantage over the Zags.
There's the replay right there. Good ball played in by Megan Rucker right to Janessa Groves, and she has a good turn on the ball in order to get past town. But certainly an interesting position now for Gonzaga, where they'll really look to score more than one tonight. And in terms of the title, or at least the conference, it'll be something to keep notice on, especially because of the Pepperdine game versus USF.
Yes, and immediately you see Gonzaga will attack with a bit more pace and try and break down their opponent with a little bit more aggression. There's obviously keys to being patient, but it looks like they'll try and go as fast as possible to get themselves equal here. Amelia Warta on the ball for the Zags. We'll play it back to Chelsea Lee. And the Zags will look to maintain possession in the way that they have throughout the first portion of this game, but they'll look to find themselves, yes, like you said, Rue, on the score sheet more than once, something that they've done throughout the season. But now they find themselves in a position where they likely feel they have to. Maddie Kemp with a ball and able to shoot it. It's off the post, and Marissa Garcia to follow up. That one is saved by Ellie Summers. And already an exciting moment for the Zags as we get another look at that one.
Yeah, here's the replay. What a belter of a shot by Maddie Kemp right off the post. That's a very good shot, and we've seen that a lot from Maddie Kemp.
Maddie Kemp, senior for the Zags, and really their veteran in midfield. And she'll look to lead that Gonzaga forward four to get themselves on the score sheet. Impressive from Summers, though, who is able to really cover that first shot and then get back up and catch the rebound as well. Loyola Marymount with a long free kick. Will not beat Kelsey Euler. And Euler again will pick up possession for the Zags. And look to drive her team forward. Euler looks to find Marissa Garcia and able to do so on the far side. And that ball will be flicked out by Loyola Marymount defender. Kelsey Euler throws the ball in for the Zags, and Grace Corder will look to find a teammate in the middle, looks to play Paige Alexander through the back.
Santander slices the ball for Gonzaga, who take over. For Kelsey Euler, who looks to create another attacking opportunity.
And Euler able to find Marissa Garcia. Both of them dribbling and combining on that far side of the box. Garcia drives into the box. And Maddie Kemp looks to find her again, but unable to do so. Those connections within the goal box for the Zags will be crucial to getting themselves back level.
Janessa Groves found in the middle.
And looking for a teammate, but picked off by Gianna Riley. The forward who finds herself all the way in the defensive position before several of the midfielders and has won her team a goal kick. Another veteran and leader for this Gonzaga team. Corder plays the ball long, and Maddie Kemp will pick it up in midfield. She looks to find Marissa Garcia, but unable to connect. And Kemp will look to put her opponent under pressure. And the Zags will look to win the ball anywhere they can.
It's interesting to see the possession that LMU have kept so far and how good they've been in terms of keeping a good tight grip on where they find themselves and the flow of ball.
And Gianna Riley will chase her opponent all the way to the back line. And Lauren Town will have to dive and able to get some fingertips onto that one and stop her opponent. Kelsey Euler will take care of business for the Zags at the back and look to ignite a forward motion. Chelsea Lee will drive the ball forward and allow her teammates to create a run in front of her. Paige Alexander looks to keep the ball inbounds but unable to catch it.
Yeah, these are de-stressing situations for Gonzaga. It's good by Lauren Town to get a tip on the ball right before Alex Hobbs was trying to get her foot onto the ball and put it in the back of the net.
Loyola throw in, and the Zags will win it immediately through Chelsea Lee, who's been crucial as the pivot in Gonzaga's midfield throughout the season and was the difference in the game against Santa Clara when she scored a penalty kick. You can hear Gonzaga's coaching staff instructing their forwards to, or instructing Maddie Kemp to stay in a forward position. Gianna Riley on the right side with a teammate wider. And they'll play the ball back and forth to try and find a chance to attack. Gianna Riley will drive inside, but the Lions able to dispossess her. Lauren Chin will take the throw in for the Zags.
Werner on the ball here. We'll find Grace Corder, who's the only one behind the midway line.
And Chelsea Lee will drive the ball forward. As Amelia Huerta for the Zags able to pick that ball up in midfield and bring it down to the ground. She'll dribble across the field and look to find a teammate. Lauren Chin will be that teammate. And she'll look to play Gianna Riley down the line. Gianna Riley onside and able to get around her opponent. She'll look to find somebody in the box. And the Lions have got there first. And Lauren Chin will take the ball down and allow the Zags to attack from a different perspective. Grace Corder will try and draw an opponent out of position and create a space. Kelsey Euler looks to dribble her opponent from a deeper position and will stay down after colliding with her opponent. Definitely a concern for the Zags as she's one of the stronger players for the team and one of their key players, but she's back and seeming to walk it off.
It's good body by Maddie Kemp to regain possession for the Zags. We'll look to play it long for her attackers, but there's not too much creation going on for Gonzaga so far in the attack. I think it's hard for them to break past that last line.
And the Lions able to turn and face their opponents and look to create something to double their lead over the Zags. Their methods and style of play up to this point have been successful, so they'll continue to employ those tactics. Maddie Kemp with a combination with Gianna Riley over the top. Gianna Riley arrives at the same time as her opponent and is cleared up in the air. Ellie Summers will take that down for the Lions and look to slow the game down a little bit, but also allow her team to get set. And Gianna Riley looks to put her under a little bit of pressure. Grace Corder wins the first ball, and Lauren Chin wins the second. Amelia Huerta looks to play it over the top to Marissa Garcia. Marissa Garcia able to bring it down and is in front of the goal, and she's put it just over the crossbar. But the Zags will look to create more attacks just like that one. The referees, I believe, called her. No, it'll just be a goal kick. She's not offside.
Yeah, it was a great chance, though, created right over the top for Marissa Garcia to bring it down. And unfortunately, she does hit it over the top. But once again, it's a beautiful creation there. Another chance that they'll try to achieve.
And the Lions will make two substitutions as they take off their goal scorer, Janessa Groves, and will also take off Amber McCorkle for their teammates. Well, the Zags will replace Paige Alexander and Marissa Garcia with the likes of Shelby Runji and Caitlin Rigg. Caitlin Rigg already finds herself on the ball. And we'll look to find Gianna Riley. But the Lions will give the ball right back. Amelia Huerta brings the ball down for the Zags. And looks to shoot and puts it off the crossbar. And her teammates are there. But Caitlin Riggs put that one over the crossbar as well.
That's a great shot by Shelby Runji. I've really liked how she's played so far. Find her way around the crooks. And that one hits right off the crossbar. A tough one for Ellie Summers. And Caitlin Rigg is not able to get over the ball and hit it down.
The Zags will definitely like the chances that they found themselves with in these past few minutes, but not liked. They won't be too happy with the outcomes that they've been able to produce. Lauren Chin able to find Caitlin Rigg. Rigg able to bring it down to her feet. And she'll dribble across and look for a teammate. Able to find Chelsea Lee, who looks to play Kelsey Euler. Euler finds herself in a 2v1 and has retained possession through the pressure of both of her opponents. And we'll lose possession there as the Lions give it right back to a throw-in.
And certainly Kelsey Euler and Shelby Runji have been the ones creating a lot of the chances here.
And Grace Corder plays the ball all the way into the middle. Caught by Ellie Summers of the Lions.
But yeah, they've certainly been creating a lot of chances, and through the fullbacks as well, which has been very good, especially with Lauren Chin, even through the center mids like Maddie Kemp, which I expect to see more.
And Maddie Kemp able to win the ball there and looks to play Caitlin Rigg through the middle of the field. But Loyola will definitely be spooked by the chances that Gonzaga has had. As Gonzaga prepares more substitutes to try and change the flow of this game up to this point, or at least the scoreboard up to this point. Euler able to find Rigg on the ball through the middle, and Rigg looks to shoot, and that will go down as a save for Ellie Summers.
Here's the replay right here. Good turn by Caitlin Rigg. It's good to get it shot off. Good defending from Alice Santen.
And the Zags will look to keep the ball in play, unable to do so. But the Lions will have a throw-in. At the next Gonzaga throw-in, which will be now, they'll have an opportunity to make two substitutions. Entering the field is number 6, Willow Collins, and number 8, Kaya Lee. And leaving the field is Maddie Kemp and Lauren Chin.
Yeah, certainly Willow Collins is one of those fullbacks that loves to make attacking runs. She was out for a portion of the season, and Lauren Chin took her spot, but she looked to recreate what she has been previously.
Yes, and the Zags will look to change their midfield shape slightly. They'll have Kaya Lee playing in an 8 position close to Chelsea Lee, while Amelia Warta will play as the center attacking midfielder. Corder plays the ball long. And the Lions able to retain possession and look to play the ball forward, but Kaya Lee will find herself really in a position deeper than her portion of space to win the ball back. And Caitlin Rigg will try and find some space at the touchline for the Zags, but the defenders will close off the space too quickly.
And certainly some of these Gonzaga attackers are kicking themselves for the mistakes they've made, but I'm certain that there will definitely be another chance that they will get throughout the game. Attempted to bring down by Kylie Dobbs, but the Gonzaga defenders know that's too easy for them, and they get possession.
Euler will look to play the ball to Runji on the far side. Runji will look for a teammate and able to find Michaela Werner, the center back on the near side. Werner will look to play the ball over the top. Amelia Warta flicks it on, and that will be cleared by the Lions of Loyola Marymount. Werner comes off of the defensive line to claim the ball there and does so without missing a beat for the Zags.
Willow Collins there making one of those runs, and you still see her further up, not in the picture. Attempted long one by Euler. A lot of LMU's attackers, though, in the box, or defenders in the box.
Yes, Loyola Marymount has 10 players behind the ball. Which really goes to show that they're not willing to forfeit much of any space in front of their goal to the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Chelsea Lee will take a shot, and it's looking to be on target. Another shot off the crossbar for the Zags. And Kelsey Euler will win the corner kick for her team.
Here's the replay right here. Great scissors by Chelsea Lee. And Ellie Summers has had to deal with a lot of those chances. But when will it finally break for this Gonzaga team?
That's 2 off of the crossbar within the last few minutes as the Zags will take the corner kick. And it will fall again to the feet of Chelsea Lee. And she'll look to bring it forward with the help of teammate Willow Collins. The Zags will play it back and look to attack again. Euler finds herself with the ball at her feet. Able to find Runji. And Runji will look to dribble forward. Looks to shoot, but the ball will bounce right back out to Euler. And the Zags will move it across to the other side. Willow Collins has found Gianna Riley, and the referee will put the flag up.
It's right through the legs of the LMU Lion defender on that. And Gianna Riley tried to replicate that with a good move herself, but unfortunately the flag went up. I believe it went through the legs of Madison Werner on that occasion. It's pure class.
And the Lions will take the long ball option for their free kick. They'll have their number 32, Kylie Dobbs, the substitute, be the main source of pressure against the Gonzaga back line. As Gonzaga looks to play the ball long, and John O'Reilly able to flick the ball forward. And no runners in behind. Chelsea Lee able to win the ball, and Amelia Warta has the opponent take the ball off of her. Kelsey Euler wins the ball back and will look to move forward with pace for the Zags. Able to find Warta across the center areas of the field, and able to find Gianna Riley. Gianna Riley puts it into the box with the first touch, and that will be a corner kick for the Zags as it's cleared.
Certainly a little bit of energy here at the stadium today, especially after a moment like this. Gonzaga, it would be great for Gonzaga to get a goal right before a half and build upon it.
John O'Reilly will take the corner kick for the Zags. And she'll put it into the center area. Is able to find a foot of a teammate. And that ball will stay in play for the Zags to claim and look to attack again. I think we also might see in the second half the Zags might move another player to play sort of a central striker position. It looks like they're making runs towards their wide position through the use of Riggs and Riley. And there's a third space behind them. Riggs able to defend and win the ball, beat her opponent. As Loyola again escapes, and it will be a Gonzaga throw-in.
Played in quick to Werner. Werner will look to switch right to quarter. And you see this two-system way of going from each side. You see Kelsey Euler running it on the left and on the right for Willow Collins.
You also see more involvement for the Zags of their center midfield players, and it really looks like Loyola Marymount won't have a lot of attacking returns after all. The ball played in the middle, almost falls for Runji, and able to get another shot. It's off the crossbar again. And it will be a corner kick for the Zags. Chelsea Lee has hit the crossbar for the second time, after Maddie Kemp hit the crossbar earlier. As we enter the final 4 minutes of the half.
Here's the replay right here. Shot taken by Warta, and Chelsea Lee takes another one. But a good deflection off of Summers as this cross right here sails out of bounds.
And the Zags really feeling like they should have found themselves on the scoreboard at this point in the game. With the opportunities that they've had, Loyola Marymount has done well to ensure that they haven't scored those opportunities when they've had them. The ball played over the top. Summers will have to come out and claim it, and she will without an issue.
And certainly this is a big task for Summers. She's going to be getting a lot of things coming her way, and this is something she's going to have to deal with for the next 45.
And the Zags look to pass the ball quickly, find some spaces, and break through the lines of their opponent. Grace Corder will dribble forward for the Zags and look to play the ball over the top. Caitlin Rigg is running onto it and is able to get there before the ball rolls out of bounds, but not able to keep it inbounds. You definitely hear the Gonzaga bench encouraging their teammates to try and get something on the scoreboard before halftime. The Zags able again to win possession back.
Kelsey Euler on the ball now, trying to get past one of the defenders, as she normally does, and she is able to get past one. She's not able to get past the second one as the defender shields it, and it'll be the LMU ball on the far side. But I think this is good for Gonzaga, seeing your fullbacks making attacking plays like this. I think it brings a little charisma instead of them standing back where they're not really as needed as much.
And Shelby Runji will play the ball back for the Zags as they'll look to connect and bring the ball forward to Amelia Warta. We'll play it back to their defenders and look to attack again down the far side of the field. Kelsey Euler looks to get the better of her opponent and will bounce it off of her opponent for a throw-in. Caitlin Rigg brings the ball down, looks to find Kylie. And Kylie able to beat her opponent on the second touch. Chelsea Lee is able to find Shelby Runji, who looks to shoot, and the ball will deflect off of her opponent. And the Zags will look to keep up the pressure against their opponent through the last minute of the half. Michaela Werner looks to play the ball long. And unable to find the feet of Runji, but Euler will get to it and have an opportunity to put the ball into the middle of the box for her teammates. That one's deflected out, but Chelsea Lee will have the ball at her feet. Able to find Willow Collins in the center of midfield and back out to Euler on the far side. Euler's dispossessed and the Lions will look to attack. But they'll need to get players forward first. The ball is played long as the final seconds tick on of the first half. And Grace Corder will play the ball long and into the middle. And that ball will bounce off the back line.
And that'll conclude the half for Gonzaga. Obviously not what they were expecting. And I'm sure Coach Watkins will give a talk to them in order to game plan for the future, Kev.
Yeah, what thoughts do you have on the first half for the Loyola Marymount?
I think they've played well on the low block. They've even created chances on the attacking front through counterattacks. I think they've played well. And they're going to have to bolster defense because they'll see multiple chances coming in the second half.
Yes, we'll have more halftime and analysis for you after a break. Stick with us. You are watching Gonzaga Soccer on ESPN+, and there's 45 minutes left to play. Welcome back to Spokane, Washington, where the Loyola Marymount Lions currently find themselves with a 1-goal advantage over the number 19 ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs at halftime. Thoughts on the first half, Rue?
Certainly not what we've expected in terms of ranking and RPI and all that, and I'm sure it'll take a hit to the playoff chances, especially being possibly outside the bubble. But some of the resume this season: 12-3-1, 5-1 in the WCC. National ranking is 19th so far, and we talked about the RPI, Kevin.
Yes, they're ranked 30th through October 30th of the year, and that was the last RPI rankings that came out. With the loss against Loyola Marymount today, their RPI ranking would take a hit, and it would put them on the lower half and really on the bubble of making an NCAA tournament, which would make their next game in Malibu against Pepperdine a must-win for the Zags.
I'd say despite all that, they've had good wins so far. Obviously, we talked about Santa Clara, especially Portland, Arizona, and Oklahoma, which have all been very good wins for the Gonzaga team, and the tie against Texas. The program record has been set for goals, assists, and points, and we could see that with the stat with 3.12 goals per game, which is 4th in the NCAA. I'm sure Kevin will see something like this in the future, possibly another goal today or sometime soon.
Yes, they've been searching for those goals so far today, and they'll look to put their shooting boots on in the second half and try and get themselves on the scoreboard. Their only other tournament appearance was in 2005, and they're really looking to have a first tournament appearance over the last 3 years of a dominance and really a strong program that's found themselves right outside the NCAA tournament bubble.
I mean, 3 off the crossbar is mad, especially 2 from Chelsea Lee, and I'm certain Coach Watkins will give him a talking to on how to game plan against that.
Yes, and we'll take a look at those hits off the crossbar with some highlights and analysis coming up for you next. You're watching Gonzaga Soccer on ESPN+. Oh, welcome back to tonight's matchup between the Gonzaga Bulldogs and the Loyola Marymount University Lions. Tonight has so far not been the Zags' night, and the Lions have looked to capitalize on the opportunities that they've had. And let's take a look back at the first half, Rue.
Yeah, certainly a lot of highlights to talk about so far in this first half. Here we start off from Megan Rucker to Grove for the LMU Lions to secure that goal and bring them up 1-0. The only goal so far. Euler plays it in, flick for Paige Alexander. Gianna Riley gets a hit, and it's hit out of bounds. But it's been multiple of those that have occurred. Gianna Riley gets another chance through her strength to get a shot off. Warta passes it off to Kemp. Kemp hits a shot right off the post. Ellie Summers has it saved, though. Here we see another chance from Warta. Played over the top for Marissa Garcia, and she unfortunately sails that one over the top. Warta here with another shot outside the box, off the crossbar. Let's start counting them. That's 1. Here we got the second one from Chelsea Lee, a long one, and that one unfortunately hits off the crossbar as well. A chance here in the box for Chelsea Lee, and that hits the crossbar for the 3rd time, Kevin. That's 3 so far this game.
Yes, and the Zags will definitely be happy to shoot at the other end of the field for the second half here against the Loyola Marymount Lions. They had 13 shots to Loyola's 2 in the first half, and really the only goal and the difference between the two sides right now is the goal from Groves for the Loyola Marymount Lions coming in the 21st minute. Gonzaga's hit the crossbar 3 times, 1 off the post as well, and really given the Loyola Marymount Lions a lot to think about, a lot to worry about, and a lot to ponder over so far in the first half, despite not having anything on the score sheet. They'll look to continue those attacks and find more success in the second half, and they'll look to get on the score sheet, Rue.
Yeah, certainly. That's the main goal and the main objective for this team that they will try to accomplish. And
that second half, where the Zags will try and get their main objective, will be up next for you here. Stick with us. You are watching Gonzaga Soccer on ESPN+. Well, welcome back to Spokane, Washington, where Gonzaga finds themselves in their home game against Loyola Marymount's Lions at a 1-goal disadvantage through the end of the first half. But let's take a look around the grounds at the events happening in Malibu in the game between Pepperdine and the University of San Francisco. Rue.
Yep, we see there 1-0, which is a predicament to be in for sure. So far, that would, if Gonzaga went to go to Malibu to play Pepperdine in their next game, and they won, based on tiebreaker rules, they would still go through. But anything less than that, and they are not, Kevin.
Yes, and Gonzaga looks to really secure themselves with an automatic bid by winning the West Coast Conference regular season for the NCAA tournament. And in order to do that, they'll have to ensure that these results do not hold. They'll have to ensure that they can do what they can do and get themselves with 1 or 2 goals against this Loyola Marymount opponent. And that's definitely what they'll be saying in that circle right there. They know how important this game can be. They know that this is their last regular season home game, and they'll look to make the most of the last opportunity to play in front of their fans here in Spokane.
Certainly. What do you think Coach Watkins is saying to the team?
I think he's absolutely telling them that they should be confident, that they should go and not get discouraged if they aren't able to break through within the first 5 minutes of the second half, but they should absolutely do their best to put pressure on their opponents, keep shooting, and have confidence in their own abilities and their own individual talents if needed in order to get the better of one opponent in one area of the field and provide a teammate or themselves with an opportunity to score.
And I think you're completely right about that, Kevin. You could see that basically emanates what you just said in their little team huddle, and they have a bit of energy here. You'll expect them to come out strong, come out fast, and be ready to score a few. I'm not sure if LMU will be able to handle that, but so far the record or the stats still show that they're up 1-0.
Yes, and there we see Coach Chris Watkins for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. He's in his 7th season as head coach, and he's looking to have his first season and his first NCAA appearance with the Gonzaga Bulldogs this season, which is largely contingent upon these next 45 minutes. Loyola Marymount will kick the game off, and the second half will be one to watch if you're looking at this West Coast Conference table and how it might pan out. A lot of conferences have conference tournaments, and it seems like they might have the drama or more drama than a conference tournament may have in these final 2 match days in the West Coast Conference. Grace Corder will dribble forward and find Marissa Garcia. She's able to turn and has enough space to do so as the Zags restore their starting 11 back to the field.
Lauren Chin is one of those returning starters who will play it in for Grace Corder. Looking to switch, and Amelia Huerta alongside Chelsea Lee will play that holding midfielder role. Looking to create chances, and I think, Kevin, you'll see those midfielders being utilized a lot more.
Yes, and absolutely, if you're Gonzaga, you think you might have needed a slight change, and I think pulling Amelia Huerta into a slightly more defensive position or a slightly farther back position is the right change to make in order to give Maddie Kemp enough space to use her creativity and find some spaces to find teammates and create dangerous opportunities on the attack. Grace Corder brings the ball down for the Zags, and they'll look to maintain possession. And again, it seems that this Loyola Marymount team has come out from the start with a low block, able to pick the ball off of the foot of Amelia Huerta and will look to attack quickly. The Zags bringing defenders to get behind the ball and will look to win possession back. And perhaps they aren't too concerned, though, as Loyola Marymount's team has entirely moved forward and they believe in their ability to strike on the counterattack.
Certainly. John O'Reilly will be one of those players who will look to find herself in attacking positions and create chances for this team. Obviously, she's such an aerial threat, so when you see balls in the box, you could expect her to get her head up on it.
Yes, and the Zags able to find a forward pass to Paige Alexander. Maddie Kemp will find the ball at her feet with an opponent in front of her and look to play the ball forward to Gianna Riley into the corner. Riley will get there and play the ball into the middle, looking for a teammate, but that one will be cleared. And it will be a corner kick for the Zags if it rolls out of bounds, but it doesn't look as if it's going to do so, and it does not. Gianna Riley goes down. The referee doesn't see a foul there. But again, showing what Gonzaga can do if they're running forward with the ball. And able to get a little bit more attacking space at the feet of Maddie Kemp.
Attempted to bring down by Alexander.
And Euler will charge forward and win the ball for the Zags. She'll look to find space on the far side of the field. And they've switched really her sides as Kemp shoots and it goes over the goal. Euler played on the left side for the Zags in the first half and is now playing on the right side in order to continue to occupy the space on the far side of the field from the perspective of the cameras. Goal kick will be taken by Ellie Somers. In no particular rush. Chelsea Lee able to head the ball and find Marissa Garcia. Marissa Garcia brings it down to the floor and will look to play it. The ball played by Lauren Chin finds Maddie Kemp over the top. And Maddie Kemp finds herself surrounded by two defenders, able to turn both of them. And looks to find Marissa Garcia in the box. Kemp back with the ball at her feet at the top of the box and will look to find a teammate at the back post. That's read by the opponents. And the Zags will look to put them under immediate pressure. As Kelsey Euler finds the ball at her feet and will look to attack for her team. Again, Loyola Marymount able to pick it up, but poor clearance will allow the Zags to have a moment of excitement, but not enough to get anyone with the ball at their feet. As the Lions are able to play it out the back and able to send their one forward, and that's Kylie Dobbs. And she'll look to shoot, able to find enough space to shoot, but Lauren Town will come off her line and claim that deflection. She'll play Kelsey Euler down the far side of the field, and Euler takes a big touch, and that will go to her opponent.
Most likely not what she was expecting, looking to counterattack there. Wasn't expecting a midfielder to be there for that.
And Chelsea Lee finds herself in a almost outside back position, seemingly swapping with Lauren Chin for a moment, and Amelia Warda finds herself with space in front of her and the ball at her feet. She'll drive forward for the Zags and force Loyola Marymount's defenders to move towards her and defend. Paige Alexander with the ball at her feet now, back to Warta, and Warta will look to open up some space. Kemp finds herself with the ball from Alexander and has to create a gap to shoot, able to create something, but not enough to get past Ellie Somers.
It's good seeing that creation in the midfield, though, where there's options being made. Here we see Maddie Kemp looking around. Possibly could have played Gianna Riley, but she gets a good shot on it. Decent shot, and it goes to Ellie Somers.
And Chelsea Lee picks up the ball in midfield and looks to play Paige Alexander over the top, but that ball will be cleared out by the Lions of Loyola Marymount. Gianna Riley with the ball at her feet from Chelsea Lee, and will move into the center of the field and look for a teammate. She slips, but retains possession of the ball after it bounces off her opponent. And will play Euler, and Euler will look to play the ball in the box with her teammates running in. Looks to play it over Somers, but Somers will jump to catch that one with Maddie Kemp looming behind her.
It's been relentless pressure for this Gonzaga side, trying to create opportunities, create angles, and you might see a few more over the top, which are just easy, simple creations to make instead of the short passes.
Yes, and the Zags again able to pick up possession fairly quickly through the midfield. And Kelsey Euler finds herself with the ball at her feet. Grace Corder will find Euler again on the far side. And Euler looks to play the ball long already. And quite a long ball. It will be headed out by Loyola Marymount's right back. And Maddie Kemp will dribble the ball around and find Euler again. Euler will find herself in a midfield position and look to find Kemp at the back post. but the foul will be called against Kemp for pushing off her opponent.
Maybe a little bit of confusion there. I didn't see too much there, but obviously Maddie Kemp is an aggressive player, and she has the quality in order to bring the ball down and score from an angle like that.
Somers will play the ball long, and the Lions will look to flick it, and it goes all the way back to Michaela Werner for the Zags. She'll look to play the ball long and find Euler, but Euler's run is behind where she likes it, so she'll back out, and Loyola Marymount will have an opportunity to move forward with the ball. Euler with a tackle and able to win possession for her team. Warta with the ball at her feet, and the Zags will look to, again, find some sort of way to attack and get an attacking return.
A little too strong of a ball from Quarter to Riley, and that goes to the stands. You can see a lot of people bundled up here on the stands. It's quite cold. We're ranging here at what kind of temperature, Kevin?
It's 39 degrees currently, but I'm sure it feels colder. And the players are definitely feeling that as well. Perhaps the Zags slightly more used to it, despite the fact we've had somewhat of a late cold season kicking in here in Spokane. Marissa Garcia looks to beat her opponent and win possession back for her team, and the referee will call a foul against her.
That was good shielding from the Lions. And we will see Santana on the ball here. Most likely going to go long. Could play short to Summers.
And it looks like she's preparing to kick the ball up the field.
She goes long. Looking to find Amber McCorkle. But she hits it off her knee. And it will be Gonzaga ball where they will once again find themselves in another opportunity to move it up the pitch.
And it seems that the Zags have even made slight changes, like modifying their center backs and switching the sides that Quarter and Werner are occupying. As Euler doesn't connect with the ball in the way she wants to, but able to win the ball back through the tackle of her teammate Gianna Riley, and looks to play Marissa Garcia on the far side, but the defender's there. Amelia Warta will pick up the ball in the middle of the field and look to find Gianna Riley on the far side. Able to do so, and she'll get a chance to put the ball into the box, and Paige Alexander gets ahead to it, but it's just wide of the goal.
Looking at the replay there from Riley, Paige Alexander, of course, is able to get her head on it. And I think those are some of the chances that they'll need to create for Gonzaga. Looking for crosses. I think they need more midfielder bodies to get in and just play those ones over the top where something shaky could happen. I think we've seen from this LMU team where shaky mistakes can occur on their defense. And I'm certain by the end of the game that more of these creations will occur. Moving it down the field already is Chin. Looking to play short to Quarter.
And Werner will move the ball across the field to Euler. Back to Chelsea Lee, who will charge down the middle of the field, looking for a teammate, able to find Alexander, who finds Lee again. Impressive 1-2 from the Zags. She'll look for Riley on the far side, and Riley will bounce it off her defender and look to dribble it in and win a corner kick for the Zags. The referee will say it's a goal kick, and that's the consensus among them.
Kevin, that's a decision. Can't get annoyed by that. Here's the replay right there by Riley. The attacker goes down immediately. That was Alex Hobbs right there. I'm not sure who that hit off, Kevin, but it will be a goal kick in the end.
Yeah, it seemed like on the second viewing there that they do have a closer view than we do, and did seem to get it correct, bouncing back off of Riley and out of bounds. The Lions will take the throw in with no rush.
Megan Rucker on the ball, who has played well for this LMU team in calming the attacks of Garcia and
Amelia Huerta able to claim the ball in the midfield there for the Zags. And the Zags will look to attack, maybe switch to point of attack as Euler bounces it off of really the head of her opponent there. And Euler able to find Gianna Riley on the far side. And they'll look to find Paige Alexander playing the ball all the way down the sideline. Paige Alexander able to retain possession for the Zags and looks to find a teammate again. And she's able to find Gianna Riley, drawing out an extra defender while doing so. Gianna Riley looks to beat her opponent, and the ball's played into the middle. It will flick off her heels of her opponent before it goes all the way into the box. And Kelsey Euler will have the ball at her feet as Chelsea Lee moves forward, and the Zags move the ball across their players and throughout their team. Amelia Huerta able to get a shot off, but it will bounce off the first defender. And Grace Corder looks to continue the attack down the far side of the field for the Zags. It looks like they intend to use Euler as much as possible. Marissa Garcia able to get ahead onto the end of that cross, but not enough to redirect it on target. Or redirect it past the likes of Ellie Salmers. The Zags also preparing substitutes as we enter the 15-minute, we approach the 15-minute mark of the second half. And again, the Lions will have a throw-in on the far side of the field.
that is Rucker on the ball once again. Here on that far side. And switching it from the far side will be the Zags, who will look to play wide.
Chelsea Lee with the slide tackle to retain possession.
Chin here on the attack. Look to play along. Garcia tries to get away around it, but this LMU defense has held up so far.
And Chelsea Lee will move forward and look to play the ball over the top, and Paige Alexander able to bring it down and play it back to Maddie Kemp, who will shoot. And again, it goes wide of the goal. But the referee says it's deflected off of somebody, and it will be a corner kick for the Zags. They'll look to take it as fast as possible as Kemp runs out to the corner in order to do so.
Here's the replay once again. A good pullback by Alexander for Kemp, and you clearly can see them asking for a call for a corner, which they have gotten this time.
Euler will look to play it in. It will bounce off her opponent, and it will be another corner kick for the Zags. As it seems there's a palpable excitement here at Luger Field. Many of the fans have migrated to the attacking side for the Zags. As the ball's played into the box and bounces out at the back, and it will bounce off of Gonzaga's forwards and go over the goal yet again. Substitutions for the Zags as Paige Alexander will leave the field along with Gianna Riley to be replaced by Caitlin Rigg and Shelby Runji, a freshman duo for the Zags who have gotten their fair share of minutes throughout this season, Rue.
Here's the replay once again from Kemp. A line drive played in, shot in from Lee, or a pass into Alexander, I guess you could say, and once again it goes over the top.
And Chelsea Lee is now moving forward with the ball at her feet for the Zags, able to find Runji immediately, and Runji has one opponent to beat on the far side of the field. Unable to get the best of her opponent, but able to win her team a throw-in, and Kelsey Euler will run forward to take that throw-in. Euler will look to play the ball immediately into the box and find a teammate, and able to do so. The Zags will retain possession through the clearance, and Maddie Kemp will have the ball at her feet to move forward with. Loyola Marymount's turn the ball over, and Chelsea Lee will win the ball back for her team and look to, again, attack despite their opponent's transition. Kelsey Euler looking to win the ball on the far side of the field. The referee will call a foul for a collision between Euler and her opponent. The Gonzaga bench will not be too happy with that call.
Yeah, that was between Euler and Alex Hobbs there. And I think despite the call, Hobbs has come down a few times before, so you might have to watch out for possible flopping.
The referee might not see it, but Ruth Stenson does.
Of course. Another chance here for Gonzaga on this far side. Looking to play it in, but great defense from, I believe it's Rucker on that side.
And the Lions will look to move forward without really any attacking outcome so far in this second half. There's a few scary moments in the first and a goal in the first half, but not much from Loyola Marymount in terms of attack in the second half. Kelsey Euler finds the ball at her feet again and will play the ball into the middle, but is bounced out by the defenders of Loyola Marymount. Lauren Chin for the Zags will bring the ball to the floor and look to find a teammate. She's looked to play Runji over the top, and that'll be one that the Lions are able to take down and reclaim possession. As Amelia Warta will look to find Maddie Kemp, and Maddie Kemp charging forward as the Zags will look to continue to put pressure on their opponent and try and find a way through or a mistake from their opposition. Chelsea Lee tracks back and wins the ball back for her team. Largely been showing her experience so far in this half and really throughout this game. Not seeming flustered by the fact that her team is yet to get on the score sheet, and she herself is put 2 off the crossbar.
Certainly, yeah. And we talked about it before, but resilience is what's going to be needed. It's going to come down to the wire for a possible last chance, and they're going to have to stay resilient throughout.
And the referee will call another foul against Euler. They'll exchange a series of gestures in trying to explain what the foul was. Seems like the referee believed Euler was grabbing her opponent. And Euler believes she's been wrongly accused. You can hear Gonzaga's coach really looking to stretch their opponents. They have 2 forwards pinned against the back line and are somewhat changing their formation to some extent in order to try and get a little bit more attacking output. Caitlin Rigg with the ball at her feet and will look to play the ball in. She's found Chelsea Lee in the middle, who will spin around her opponent and switch the point of attack all the way to Lauren Chin. Chin goes to the touchline and looks to play the ball in. And that will bounce out of bounds and be a corner for the Loyola Marymount Lions as they make 2 changes. Entering the field is their number 32, Kylie Dobbs, as well as their number 29, Madison Warner. Exiting the field is their goal scorer and number 9, Janessa Groves, and their second forward, Alex Hobbs.
Maddie Kemp gets the ball there.
And Rigg will bring it all the way down. As the ball deflects up, and the Zags will look to claim it. Unable to do so, as it's brought down by Kylie Dobbs. Caitlin Rigg looks to get the better of her opponent there. And able to win a corner kick for her team. Maddie Kemp will run to the corner to take it. Caitlin Rigg will stay forward as Maddie Kemp brings the ball into the box, and Chelsea Lee able to get ahead to it but not enough to beat, again, Ellie Summers, who's been composed at the back for this Loyola Marymount side.
Here's the replay once again for Kemp. Another line drive played in for Lee. Just leaning back a little too much, not enough power created.
And Lee able to win the ball there for the Zags immediately. Euler plays the ball to the back post. It looks to find Rigg. Euler switched sides for the Zags yet again. And Rigg is brought to the ground, and the referee will believe it's a free kick. Maddie Kemp will take for the Zags, as the Loyola Marymount Lions will plead their case that they have not brought down Rigg and caught the back of her ankle there. Rigg also, notably, the player who was fouled for the penalty kick in their weekend game against Santa Clara. Here's another look. It seems that Loyola Marymount's number 23, Gabriella Marshall, has been called for the shove against Rigg. That forced Rigg to the ground. Maddie Kemp will shoot from this free kick position. Her team looks oriented as if they might not shoot, but Euler will look to block the vision of the goalkeeper to some extent. And it's a tough angle, but she's put it off the crossbar and off the back of the head of the goalkeeper. And again, the Zags have hit the crossbar and find themselves without an attacking return to show for it. The referee will call a foul against Grace Corder.
Grace Corder clearly annoyed by that call. But here's the shot once again from Maddie Kemp. It was a great shot. And Kevin, that's the fourth time it's hit off the crossbar.
And again, the Zags will feel unlucky. Perhaps they could have had more players trailing the ball, but I think they all had confidence in Maddie Kemp's ability to put that shot in the back of the net. Loyola Marymount will again take no time and be in no rush to take their free kick. The referee seems not to be worried about the time, as Grace Corder clears the ball to the quarter for Laura Tao to run onto, and she'll look to clear it all the way to her teammate Caitlin Rigg. Rigg able to find Kemp, and Kemp able to find Marissa Garcia. Garcia will look to find Runji, and the Zags will look to continue this attacking rhythm that they've developed in this play. Runji will bring it all the way down to the goal line, and it will roll out of bounds for a goal kick for the Lions.
And certainly the rhythm is something that they've kept for this Gonzaga side, and they've just been unfortunate, really. They hit out the crossbar 4 times. They've hit the post. I think we all thought surely a goal would come by this point, but we'll see how long this unluckiness will last for the Bulldogs.
Yes, Loyola Marymount clearly came here with a plan, and that plan involved really parking the bus from the first minute, trying to get an attacking output and get themselves on the score sheet, and then parking the bus again. And it seems that they've been successful in that plan up to this point, and that's how they find themselves with a 1-goal advantage.
Gonzaga have won themselves a corner. Maddie Kemp will be on the ball once again. You could expect one of these line drives. You see Grace Corder in the back, one of the main targets.
And Maddie Kemp will kick it in for the Zags from the corner. It will fall short to the first defender, but Marissa Garcia will claim it and bring it back to Kemp. Kemp will look to combine with Garcia, but not on the same page, as the ball rolls out of bounds for a Lions throw-in.
That's always an annoying feeling, especially between two world-class players like that, to fall to such a short mistake like that. Rinji here, looking to bring it down. Or sorry, that was Wharton, sorry. Played for Warner, who will swing it wide.
And Chin will find Runji. There is something to be said for these numbers being hard to see, especially those of Loyola Marymount. As Chelsea Lee has dribbled the entire opposition, and the ball will fall to Maddie Kemp. Cleared, but Chelsea Lee's foot will deflect it out and give her teammates an opportunity to win the ball back. And the Zags will look to reclaim possession. Caitlin Rigg tracking back to try and beat her opponent. And Chelsea Lee will put pressure on the other midfield players. As the ball's played long, and Quarter will claim it for the Zags.
And the pressure seemed to work against LMU in that scenario.
To much extent it does. Warta dribbles through many of her opponents, able to get a shot. Again, not enough to beat Ellie Somers. But the Zags showing a little bit more promise in this past minute or so.
There's the replay there. What a strike of a shot.
Chelsea Lee as well, not afraid to take things into her own hands, dribbling through really 6 or 7 opponents, it seems like, on that last play. And she'll have the ball at her feet again for the Zags and find Maddie Kemp. Her pass will be deflected out, but she's fast enough to beat her opponent around the ball. The ball will fall to Runji, and Runji's able to keep it forward. The clearance from the Lions will be successful as the Zags will look to attack again. Chelsea Lee will bring the ball inside, look to shoot. It'll bounce off her opponent. As Grace Quarter will bring the ball down for the Zags. Maddie Kemp will find Chelsea Lee. And it seems like the Zags have rotated spurts of attack and the manners in which they look to attack throughout these minutes, and have now looked to attack through the likes of Chelsea Lee and Maddie Kemp down the middle of the field. And goal kick will be next after the clearance is blocked. As we really approach the last 16 minutes, the last 15 minutes of the game, right?
Yeah, you're certainly not wrong about your call for LMU, but this Gonzaga side, I think there needs to be a little more flow of movement just between the midfielders and the attackers. You see this stagnant line being made, and you look at some of the great teams in the world and how they move the ball around. There's no one standing still, or else one of the coaches will not be happy.
And Gianna Riley will line up on the side of the field to re-enter the field for the Zags, who's really been one of their star players so far this season and has a fantastic amount of attacking output. She'll look to find that attacking output tonight as Maddie Kemp finds the ball at her feet. Warta finds the ball at her feet again, and back to Kemp. Will roll to the side of the goal, and she'll find Runji, play it across the net, and Rigg will get a shot saved by Somers. Chelsea Lee will pick up the ball again, and the Zags will look to do the same thing. Amelia Warta shoots, and it's over Somers, but it's also over the goal.
Wild sequence of plays there. What a great ball played in. Right for that attacker. Here's the replay. We can see it right here. It's a great ball played in. A good shot as well, and an even better save, really. It's a good overall, and here's from the beginning another shot by Warta, I believe. Just more and more chances being created. We'll see the stats near the end of the game, and it'll be quite wild.
Yeah, the other game we're keeping an eye on, Pepperdine might have their team name being the Waves, but it seems like there's wave after wave of Gonzaga attack so far tonight, but none able to break this Loyola Marymount wall at the back. The Lions will look to attack. And the Zags will look to track back and reclaim possession. Kelsey Euler able to pickpocket her opponent. And Chelsea Lee will look to move the ball forward, able to find the feet of Amelia Warta. And Warta will dribble past one opponent, look to play the ball forward, and unable to connect exactly in the way that she wanted to with Caitlin Rigg.
Chelsea Lee on the ball, finding herself at that fullback position. A good run made.
And Rigg able to get the ball moving inside on the touchline, but she's dispossessed by the Loyola Marymount defenders. Loyola Marymount will look to possess the ball and try and build up slowly in order to get some players in forward positions. And the Zags will also be bringing on Shelby Runge, who they, I believe, just brought off for Gianna Riley, perhaps to give her some instruction and allow her to go back on in one of the attacking positions on the field. Maddie Camp able to pick the ball up in the middle of midfield. Looks to find Gianna Riley and able to do so, but she'll slip, and Loyola Marymount will retain possession and attack again.
Attack here for LMU, certainly with numbers. But it'll surmount to nothing as Lawrencetown will get the ball in this scenario.
Chelsea Lee will find herself all the way in a defensive position as Kelsey Oilers found herself almost in a forward position as the Zags look to commit more players forward and into attacking positions. The Zags will take off Lauren Chin and bring on Shelby Runge.
We'll also see Alex Hobbs come on for, I believe, Madison Werner.
And Kelsey Euler able to claim the ball for the Zags after it's bounced around between teams. And she'll be the player that her teammates trust to spark the attack. Chelsea Lee picks up the ball in the middle of midfield, and Caitlin Rigg finds the ball at her feet with Euler now almost in a forward position. The ball is picked off of the pass of Kemp, and Marissa Garcia is tracking back to try and win the ball back for her team. As the Lions look to attack fairly quickly, but the long ball will not get past the Gonzaga center back duo.
Swung out wide by Gonzaga. Looking to attack through the middle here.
And Runge able to find Euler, who finds herself in a false 9 position of sorts. The referee will call a foul for the number 7 for Loyola Marymount, Kaylee Park, catching the back of Euler's ankles. And Euler will tell all of her teammates to push forward as we enter the last 10 minutes here. And they'll leave 2 defenders at the back near her. She'll play the ball long towards the back post, looking for Chelsea Lee. Chelsea Lee's able to get her head to it and able to find another teammate. Amelia Warta again dribbles around and looks to find something to get a shot on target. Shelby Runge looks to dribble her opponent and unable to get the cross all the way into the box. As Grace Corder will pick up the ball and look to find a way through for the Zags. Maddie Camp with the ball at her feet. Euler will pick the ball up from the middle and look to maintain possession, but also find a better approach for her teammates to try and get something on the score sheet. Shelby Runge with a shot, or an attempted cross that bounces off of her opponent, but again, Loyola Marymount will clear it just as far as Grace Corder. Maddie Camp able to get across into the box, and the ball bounces around the box.
And this is chance after chance, Kevin.
And they'll look to have another chance as the ball is played into the box, flicked on, but is flicked out by the Loyola Marymount players. Caitlin Rigg able to get something in the middle, looking to shoot, and able to maintain possession for her team. Looks to find a teammate, able to find Maddie Kemp. And Maddie Kemp looks to get the better of the opponents as there's 3 of them in front of her. She'll take it all the way to the touchline, and it will be a goal kick for the Lions.
For the Lions, we will see Madison Thomas and number 9, Janessa Groves, the goal scorer, come back on. Most likely looking to play a much more defensive role here. will be the both of them on their instructions. And Kylie Dobbs will come off. Ellie Summers looking to play long.
And Amelia Warta will take the ball down. She'll find Runji playing in a position I don't believe that she's played so far this semester, as Euler finds herself in the far-sided right winger position for the Zags. She looks to play the ball in the box, and it bounces up. Rigg will challenge for it, and Rigg will bring it down. And Rigg will look for a teammate, able to find Chelsea Lee. And Chelsea Lee able to evade the defender's tackles. And Gianna Riley able to find Amelia Warta with a tightly threaded pass. Chelsea Lee finds the ball at her feet again and will look to find a teammate along the back line of her opponent. Maddie Kemp again able to disconnect, but believes that her opponent has fouled her by virtue of high kick. And Euler unable to retain possession for the Zags. Maddie Kemp will have a foul called against her, and surely one that she'll think is frustrating. But the referee believes it's a foul nonetheless. And surely if you're a Gonzaga player, you'd have to be frustrated at this point in the game. You've gone up against a team that has tactically come with a strategy and executed their strategy, but not really allowed you to play your style of play. By no means could you describe this as a two-sided affair, but really a tactical defense that's managing to work. Maddie Kemp looking to get on the end of the ball played in, and the ball will be cleared out as the Zags look to attack quickly.
6 minutes remaining here. And certainly it's been like this for the past 10 minutes, really. Mistake there by Gonzaga. They're still able to keep it inbound, so.
Yeah, and I mean, even in the world of soccer, we've seen some upsets in the past few days in games that matter. We've seen West Ham beat Arsenal. We've seen Saarbrücken beat Bayern Munich. And we've seen Kaiserslautern beat Cologne. But surely the Zags don't want to be added to that list of giants and expected favorites to fall in a game that matters.
Especially so polarizing after a win versus Santa Clara. It's very strange to be in this scenario where they had such great confidence about coming out of the Santa Clara game, and now they're being ran through by the run block.
Yes, and really, Loyola Marymount has parked the bus this game as the ball bounces off the hands of Salmers, but she's able to claim it strongly. And this is a style of play that many successful teams throughout the history of soccer have employed, but definitely not the most entertaining.
And there will be some time wasting, I assume, from positions like this. You could see some of the Gonzaga players getting a little frustrated by it.
Yeah, I think to some extent there's been time wasting from the first half from this Loyola Marymount team. They've been in no rush to take any opportunity that they have a dead ball, and to some degree rightly so. But if the referee hasn't said anything about it up to this point, he surely won't say anything about it now. Gianna Riley will look to move forward, able to dribble past the first defender, and will run into two more, and looks to find Amelia Warta on the other side of the center of midfield. Amelia Warta looks to chip it to the back post and unable to connect with the run of Marissa Garcia. But it's those type of attacks that the Zags will likely look to try and find a little bit more success with. They haven't been able to get too many shots in other scenarios, and will likely need to either get the ball wide on the near side and try and beat their opponent and get the ball into the center of the field, or they'll need to find players off the back shoulders of their opponents and opposition defenders. Marissa Garcia driving forward for the Zags, able to flick the ball wide, looking for the run of Euler, and Euler's not running as she intended. but Euler able to tackle her opponent, and it will be a goal kick from the referee's perspective.
Extremely frustrating for Gonzaga. It's always that one last pass where they're able to trying to break through, and it comes to no fruition in the end.
That's been the story of Gonzaga's game so far throughout tonight, whether it be in the first half and not being able to connect with the scoring opportunities that they had, to now not being able to connect their final passes. Shelby Runji able to get something past her opponent. Will move the ball into the middle for Kelsey Euler, and Euler will look to play the ball over the top, and it's over the top, and Maddie Kemp will come to it. She's saying that she's been held back by her opponent, but the referee doesn't seem to care.
Here's the replay once again. Ball played in by Euler, flicks off the defender, and Kemp is unable to get there.
And to some extent, it looked like the opponent was rather unsuccessfully trying to hold her back. Gianna Riley able to dribble past their first defender, but unable to dribble past the second, and the Zags will retain possession of the ball. Marissa Garcia will get there before the ball goes out of bounds, so they don't have to take a throw in. And Kelsey Euler will bring the ball forward through the half space and find Marissa Garcia wide again. She'll look to move the ball into the middle of the box, able to dribble past one defender and able to get past two. She slides to stop the third, and Maddie Kemp will come over to help her teammate out and win a corner kick for the Zags.
Corner kick it is. There's less than a minute left. It's everyone's up now.
And Lauren Town will even run up for the Zags and try and get some sort of attacking return for her team, as Maddie Kemp will kick the ball into the box in a rush and really put it in a dangerous position, but there's no one running on the near side of that defender. Lauren Town looks to stay up for the Zags as we enter the final 40 or so seconds of the game. And the ball played over the top will bounce out. It is a goal for the Zags. They find themselves with a point to show for their efforts, and the clock will stop with 38 seconds left to play. They found themselves trailing for the majority of the game tonight, and they'll break through and get themselves a return and an outcome from what's been wave after wave of attack, while the Pepperdine Waves have no trouble disposing of their opponents in the University of San Francisco, the other game to watch tonight.
It was eventually going to come, Kevin, and at this moment, it did come for the Zags. Maybe Lauren Town threw off Ellie Summers a little bit, but that is a goal for the Zags, tied now.
And likely the Zags will use these last 30 seconds. The Lions have a throw-in, and they'll look to play it in rather quickly compared to their earlier efforts, and maybe try and get something to show for their 90 minutes played, or at least retain possession up the field. The Lions will have another throw-in as we enter the last few seconds here in Spokane, and it looks like the final score will be 1-1. The Zags able to get a result at the end. And who would be your woman of the match, Rue?
Well, I think you go pick one from either side, certainly. Maybe it could be Janessa Groves that scored the goal, but I think for me, I might give it to Amelia Warta for the Zags. She played great in that midfield position, alongside Chelsea Lee, who you could give it to. I think they played very well. What about you?
And I think on the other side of the field, Ellie Summers had an impressive game. I mean, only giving up one goal against the Gonzaga opponent that got an unbelievable amount of shots against her, and really keeping her team in the game despite the amount of shots she faced and the challenges she had, Rue.
Certainly, it was a big task for her, and to only let in one goal is a great accomplishment for her and her team, with a tie ending today.
Yes, and the Zags do leave tonight with something to play for, and with a win against Pepperdine, they would still have the opportunity to win the West Coast Conference title and secure an automatic berth. Surely this won't hurt their RPI rankings as much as a loss, but we'll talk more about what might happen next for the Zags in their final game of the season next. We will have highlights and analysis for you next. You are watching Gonzaga Soccer here on ESPN+. Welcome back to Spokane, Washington, where the number 19 ranked Gonzaga has drawn their home finale against Loyola Marymount University, and they have a result to show for their efforts despite a frustrating and grueling match for both the Zags and an impressive defensive performance from the Loyola Marymount Lions, Brew.
Yeah, nothing false said there, Kevin. Hey, we'll look at the stats later, but for now, we'll check the highlights and see what chances were created from both sides of the field. Obviously here, back in the first half, we did see Maddie Kemp shoot that one off the post. It's a great shot. Another one by Warta off the crossbar, and Rigg is unable to finish it. Chelsea Lee gets a chance outside the box. Number 2 off the crossbar. Here we see Warta get a shot off. Chelsea Lee hits another one off the crossbar. That makes it 3. Maddie Kemp off the crossbar. That's 4. And it has been nonstop. It was nonstop shots, but it came to a goal finally at the end for Gonzaga, and you could see how much it meant to them with that celebration at the end, Kevin.
Yes, surely the Zags will be happy to get some sort of result after finding themselves at a disadvantage in the first half and having a frustrating second half and not being able to get much to show for their efforts through most of it. But they find themselves with a draw, and that's something to be proud of through this game, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to mention the draw and to know how it's affected them so far. I think we will talk about the Pepperdine game, but in terms of RPI, I don't think it will be as much of a hit. And despite what happens in that next game, they will have to win against Pepperdine in order to seal the WCC.
Yes, so Pepperdine beat the University of San Francisco 4-0 down in their game in California today, which means that the Zags have a much more difficult route towards the West Coast Conference title. They must beat Pepperdine in Malibu in order to win the title outright, and there is no possibility of a tie. If they lose or tie to Pepperdine, then they will lose the West Coast Conference title and look to be selected by the committee for a entry into the NCAA tournament. Their future is still in their hands. If they come up with another big win, which they have so far this season, then they can find themselves securing themselves in the tournament rather than relying on rankings and opinion in selecting the tournament process.
Yeah, exactly, Kevin. And I think it's also important to mention the polarization of games that have just occurred. I think they played against the Santa Clara team recently on Sunday and came out with that win, and now come against a tie against, you could mention, a worse opponent in LMU. And it's strange how they weren't able to connect on such low blocks like that instead of playing against Santa Clara, who they beat, a very good opponent.
Yes, they come right off their biggest win of the season to find somewhat of a frustrating and grueling tie. But it's been a pleasure to watch and be a pundit and commentate their games so far this season. So thank you to the Gonzaga women's soccer team for a fantastic season so far that we've had the pleasure of commentating on. So for Rue Stenson, I am Kevin McGann saying so long from Spokane, where the final score is Loyola Marymount 1 and the Gonzaga Bulldogs 1. All games airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN. Good night.